Again, economically and ecologically. This Watchman program will help bring not just the United States, but the international community back from the brink. Yet, it will certainly help if we start throwing stones at each other in the media. Book banner displays the Rachel Maddow Show, a nuclear reactor on fire in Japan, and the Daily Newspaper headline, Panic. Now, Rachel Maddow on MSNBC makes a good point when she says news clips like the Daily News doesn't help. However, the blame game on her commentary show and political shows like hers overshadows much good. Here's a noteworthy clip from the book titled, What Should You Do Before the Tribulation Age of 42? Babylon Radio, words of confusion, cutthroat media hosts, players in the killing fields of free speech. The question is asked, a case for the fairness doctrine? Media hosts to the left, the Bill Press Show, Rachel Maddow, Alan Combs, Mike Malloy, Ed Schultz, and Norman Goldman. Media hosts to the right, Mark Levin, Michael Savage, Laura Ingraham, Glenn Beck, Hugh Hewitt, and Sean Hannity. Note to the radio and TV hosts featured. Although this is a rebuke from your brother, your passion I do admire. From the author, Chuck at worldemergency.com. Continued clip from the book, What Should You Do Before the Tribulation Age of 42? Throughout the United States, dog-eat-dog backbiting has become so vicious that the anger and hatred is more audible than any real communication. Very little talk is actually heard. Talk on so-called talk radio is but a soundbite. Screams and rage are the main themes of the program. This nasty wailing, or should I use a biblical term, weeping and gnashing of teeth, will end tragically with the three-step death program of free speech. Step 1, homegrown terrorist attacks against opposing foes, unsettling citizens throughout the country. Step 2, our nation's economy free-falling and a paranoid public frightened about more to come. Step 3, a government inept and unable to stop chaotic events, claiming political correctness, is forced to cut off all media, not just talk radio, and beyond the so-called fairness doctrine, pass new hate crime legislation. All opposing views will soon be silent. No clarification, no rebuttal, and sadly, no truth. As the Creator says concerning the future of His own word of truth. Verse 11, the days are coming, declares the sovereign Lord, when I will send a famine through the land, not a famine of food or thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord. Verse 12, men will stagger from sea to sea and wander from north to east, searching for the word of the Lord, but they will not find it. Amos chapter 18, verse 11 to 12, New International Version. Now, since this is the soon-coming future of even the Word of God, which will take place worldwide, it will certainly be true for us. Babylon Radio Report at World Emergency News. Regarding the global meltdown, establishing an educational cooling-off period, economically, politically, and ecologically, is what's needed. Reconciling Us, author. Now, before we begin, here's an admonishment to all within our great nation. This rebuke is not just for the political parties infighting, but the media news networks and their host personnel fighting against each other. Your hate-filled statements and spiteful remarks are ripping our country apart. By your own hands and words, you sow discord from one end of this nation to the other. Verse 1. The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1, New International Version. Your wicked words are tearing us down, not just in the minds of Americans, but internationally as well. Even if we work out things economically, as a people we must stop fighting. If not, no matter what happens economically, our nation will collapse. Even religious radio hosts have joined in, undermining our nation's leaders. I understand the truth, and even helpful criticism must be spoken. But respect and disrespect are Grand Canyons away from each other. And yes, to disagree, as a nation we have the right to do so. Yet even with God's law, love and mercy should be mixed in. Instead of harsh words and rash reactions, respectful words and right actions with wisdom is walking within the way. Example, the minister who threatened to burn the Quran was unwise to do so. A nation of free-thinking people can choose to burn any book, yet a people promoting love will refuse to make that choice. Yet, anyone who claims to worship God in love will never cause violence because of violence done to a book, for the true God is love. If we start loving, America's economic comeback will lead the free world back to prosperity once again. We can call it the comeback nation. Actually, I wanted to call it America, still the single greatest nation on the face of the earth, a nation blessed by God. But that title and chapter will have to wait for another book. The economy throughout the United States will take the global community again by storm, propping up world markets, cleaning the festering budget crisis wounds of other nations. Countries like Spain, Greece, and Portugal, critical care economies, are still flatlining, even on life support from the EU, European Union. The rejuvenation of America's economy, prospering from one end of our nation to the other, spilling over to the rest of the world, will act as soothing balm on the wounds of the world.